Hello students, I hope you're doing great. I want to talk to you today about double periods. If you want, you can read up on them in your green books, find your Wallace Berry book on pages 24 and 25. If you want to read that first, go ahead. We'll come back to it. Anyway, there's an example of a double period in your sonata. The second theme of the sonata you're analyzing for your papers is a double period. So a double period has four phrases, two phrases in antecedent, and then two phrases in consequent. Let me just talk through this one. So here's the first phrase, we're in F major. So here that first phrase ends with an imperfect authentic cadence. And we're expecting a consequent to end with a perfect authentic cadence, but no, it's a half cadence. Sing do. There. We've got that lead in. This is the third phrase. It's just like the first. Very parallel with the first. And we end with a perfect authentic cadence. Here, I forgot to talk through there, and I didn't tell you where it was. I started at measure 23. Measure 23. Maybe you know the piece well enough to recognize it already. Let me play it without talking. So these double periods, they're almost always going to be parallel. Of the four phrases, the first and the third will likely start identically. They don't always have to, but they almost always will. And the proportions are likely to be quite regular also. Just like this one, four measures in every phrase. Here, the last phrase of this particular one, it seems like it gets faster, doesn't it? Sorry, I'm at measure 35. There's that lead in. Anyway, long string of 16th notes before we get to that cadential 6/4 chord and the perfect authentic cadence in F. So it's a very typical double period. Double periods tend to be very regular like that. So at the end of 8 measures, we're probably expecting a perfect authentic cadence, but no, we get a half cadence, and the perfect authentic cadence doesn't come until the end of the fourth phrase. So that's how double period works. While we're on this example, let's look at measure 39. After this little lead in the bass, so at that part, measure 39, that's a very typical closing theme. So you can go ahead and label that as a closing theme if you like. I don't usually like to teach closing theme as an integral part of the form, but here, it's very memorable. You've got dominant, back to tonic. So closing sections typically have that easy harmony, plain harmony, 5/1, 5/1, or maybe 4/5/1, 2/5/1, but tend to have simple harmony. This melody is very memorable, and you'll notice it gets kind of recycled in the development. I'm looking at measure 64. Sounds like the beginning, but then how about that triadic thing? Where do you know that from? So that triadic theme is really straight from the closing section for measure 39. So those are the two hallmarks of a theme. It needs to be memorable, and it gets recycled. It gets broken apart and used in the development. Okay, so back to double period. You're going to analyze that double period for your paper. Theme 2 of that sonata is a double period. I'm looking in your tonal harmony textbook. If you still have it, I'll make sure I copy the page. They've got an example of a double period there, and I especially like that diagram at the bottom. Anyway, I'll give you a copy of that. This is from Beethoven, a piano sonata in A flat. After two phrases, here comes our half cadence, and it's just like the first. And perfect authentic cadence at the end. A somewhat more complex example of a double period is found in your textbook, page 25, again by Beethoven. This is from his 7th Symphony, the beginning of the second movement. You hear this lovely theme. Give that a listen too. If you can find the symphony on YouTube, that'll be great. So this particular example is unusual in a couple of respects. It's not strictly speaking parallel. First phrase begins in A minor, while that the third phrase, its parallel partner, is in C major, and it does a different thing. So that's unusual. The proportions are very regular. 4 measures in every phrase. This one also modulates to the relative major. You've got an imperfect authentic cadence marked in your book at the end of the second phrase. And then, of course, you don't reach the perfect authentic cadence in the key of A minor until the end of the 4th phrase. So that's a double period. That's a double period. If I could play for you one more example, I'll post this one online too. I've lost the page. I've lost the page. So sorry here. I've got to look it up. Here, we're going to have a good number of measures. I don't think this one is strictly speaking a double period, although it sounds a lot like a double period. It's certainly got 16 measures, then plus an extension. Practice that one. Let me try it with my other glasses. This is Mozart. Mozart again. Piano sonata in C major, K309. Is that a cadence or not? I don't really think so. You just got that pedal 6/4 chord. I don't think you really get a cadence until after measure 8. So I would call this 8 measure phrases rather than a double period. So there's your 8th measure antecedent, followed by the consequent. And here we expect a perfect authentic cadence, right? But that perfect authentic cadence gets stolen. This cadential extension just jumps right in at measure 16. And then there's your perfect authentic cadence after another 4 measures. Perfect authentic cadence in C major. I'll post it online. I hope you're all doing great. Talk to you soon. Bye now.